engage with these insight. What I'd say at the start of this review is this. First of all, this will be coming out in a week or two in the bookstores, I'm told. The editor of this book goes to Woodland Hills Church, and she gave me this book yesterday after the service. It's called A New Earth and an Old Deception by Richard Baines. And I read it last night, and it is an excellent, excellent critique of Eckhart Tolle. It goes much deeper than I can possibly go here in the next 13 minutes. But if you're really interested in this, in the New Age movement and in Eckhart Tolle in particular, this is a very comprehensive critique of his thought. And you know it's right because he agrees with me on every point. So it's definitely trustworthy. The first thing I'd say is that there's absolutely nothing new in this book. What amazed me was all the buzz about it, and yet there is not a thing in that book that isn't new, that you can't trace to any of the sources Paul just gave you. Everything he says has been said a number of times before. He is incredibly eclectic, which means he draws from a lot of sources. He mixes things up in a complete hodgepodge of stuff. He is a good writer. I have to hand that to him. He's also very good at diagnosing the human problem. When you read him, he has a way of naming the kind of issues that human beings usually have. It's like, okay, he's got the problem. And that gives him credibility to many people that he's now going to have a good solution. He's a very good writer and very astute at diagnosing the human problem. He's very indebted to the I Am Consciousness movement that Paul referred to, started by Guy Ballard and became real popular in the 1930s and is still around today. And he borrows from that heavily. He's especially indebted to an Eastern mystic named Krishnamurti. In fact, I've read most of Krishnamurti's stuff, and as I was reading Eckhart Tolle, he never footnotes anybody. He never gives credit to anybody. He does mention Krishnamurti once at the end of his book, but it struck me that this guy could be charged with plagiarism. That's how close his affinity is to these other writers. But there's nothing new that is there. But he does claim that the secret that he has will provide absolute happiness and joy and peace and success and health. You'll be free of all psychological problems. I mean, everything you'd ever want is found, he says, in his system. Okay, to do a critical review, I'm going to just deal with three issues, really three questions. And the first one is the question, what is ultimate reality? What is ultimate reality? As Paul said, Tolle is typical of New Agers. He is a monist. Mon is the Greek word for one, and so one who's a monist or believes in monism believes that all is one. So for Eckhart Tolle, ultimate reality is one. The analogy you could use to kind of get your mind around this is like this. And this is me, not Tolle. But think of an ocean, an infinite ocean with ripples on it, with waves. The oneness of everything is the ocean. All things that look individual and distinct from one another are waves. I am a wave and you are a wave, but we're all part of the ocean. And every problem that humans have individually or as a race is because, he claims, because you identify with your wave self as opposed to your ocean self. If you'll simply go down and realize that you are the essence of all other waves, all problems disappear. That's the essence of what this oneness is all about. And so in this view, and follow this here, individuals, relationships, and love, they're all part of the wave, not the ocean. They're not ultimate reality. They are, he says, Maya. And Maya is the Hindu term to describe the illusion of plurality, the illusion that you and I are really different from one another, the illusion that the waves are really distinct. That's illusion, that's Maya. And so individuality, which is me as opposed to you, and relationships, which is how I relate to you, and especially love, which is what I'm supposed to be towards you, all that is part of the illusion. That's part of what we want to escape from. And Tolle is pretty explicit about this. For example, he says that the biblical teaching that God is love is not absolutely correct. And all page numbers that I have on the screen are references to the new earth. God is, he says, one life and beyond the countless forms of life. Love implies duality. There has to be an I and a thou. Lover and beloved, subject and object. So love is the recognition of oneness in the world of duality. Okay, love is the ultimate act whereby you're beginning to escape your duality, but it still is in the realm of duality. So to say God is love isn't quite correct, because God is the oneness of all things. In fact, if he was really forthright, he'd say that to say God is love is absolutely incorrect. And so love is a penultimate reality. It's part of the illusion. He says at one point, to love is to recognize yourself in another. Love your neighbor as yourself, he says, means your neighbor is yourself. And that recognition is oneness in love. That's from an interview that he did. And so I want us to see here that ultimately the goal in Eastern philosophy and in the New Age movement is absolute identification. Love is part of the illusion. It's a stepping stone there, but ultimately it's to be transcended. Whereas from a biblical perspective, love is the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality is love. God is love. And that's not partly incorrect. That is completely correct. In fact, that's the most important, correct truth there is. God is love. Ultimate reality is Father, Son, Holy Spirit exhibiting throughout eternity perfect, unsurpassable love. That's the ultimate real thing. And God creates others distinct from himself in order to invite them to share on his love forever. So in the Christian worldview, you and I really are distinct and will always be distinct. Yes, there's a reality that we share, but that isn't more real than our individuality. Rather, it's part of our individuality. Love is what unites us. Whereas in the Eastern view, self is ultimately the one real thing, your true self. In the Christian worldview, it's more beautiful because that's not true. Because only if we're distinct from one another can we eternally love one another, and only if we're distinct from God can we eternally love God. Okay, a second question here. Eckhart Tolle says that we can be free, and we should be free. We want to be free from beliefs. Tolle and Oprah repeatedly express on their show and in the book that he's not promoting beliefs. This isn't a belief system. In fact, Tolle says that every belief is an obstacle, page 189. Every belief reinforces your ego, and therefore, and that's your wave self, and so it's something you want to get rid of. Tolle believes he's helping usher us into a new age that will witness the end, quote, not only of all mythologies, but also of ideologies and belief systems.
Does he believe that?
We're getting there. Saying I am right and you are wrong, which is the result of having beliefs, because they can't all be right, that is very dangerous, he says, for it is one of the ways in which the ego strengthens itself. You get more locked into duality when you have beliefs. And so they say over and over again, this isn't a belief system, which is why it's compatible with every belief system you have. Oprah said at one point, this is a technique which is like seasoning on a dinner. Whatever you believe, this will make it better. It'll make it more rich. But it's compatible with all beliefs. Now, as Paul just noted, the belief that all beliefs are obstacles is itself, unless I'm mistaken, a belief. It is an absolute faith. This is a contradiction that runs throughout this book. It's amazing that he doesn't notice it. It's a contradiction that runs throughout many New Age writers and many New Age programs out there. I have a relative who's very deep into this thing called the Forum, which starts off as a kind of a approach to communication, which initially it's pretty good, but the deeper you get into it, the more it gets into this sort of metaphysics. And at one point we were having a discussion at a cabin, and he said to me, I feel sorry for you Christians. I said, why is that? And he goes, well, because you have beliefs, and you're stuck in your beliefs. I said, so beliefs are all are like obstacles? And he goes, yeah, they're all ditches. You get stuck in them. They keep you from growing. All beliefs are just, they inhibit you. And I said, you really believe that, don't you? He goes, absolutely. Well, see, there's a contradiction there. The irony